Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Clutch Corner, an insider show giving you the latest news on all things Miami Heat and around the NBA. The Clutch Corner is an extension of 5 on the Floor, part of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Now, here are your hosts, Clutch Adam and... Really? There's another black guy in this network? Huh, cool. Royal A. Shepherd. Take it away, gentlemen.
You guys watch anything on TV recently?
Nothing worth watching.
I watched Wonder Woman yesterday. That was pretty nice.
Yeah, I heard it was trash.
No, it was actually it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't.
No, it was actually trash. I could compare it to something else that I just watched.
Yeah?
Oh, intro. There you go.
The worst shit ever.
Yeah?
What lead-in?
First of all,
Clippers Mavs, huh?
Nah, fuck that. Where's Harden? Like, that's at the end of the day, bro. I think that's what this shit here is going to turn into before long. Like that. I said it. Shout out to Alex Toledo. But this was a shit show, bro. What can you say about a turd? Is what my tweet was. Like, this shit was terrible, bro. We didn't get anything from anybody. It got to the point where even TNT didn't let us finish watching the fucking game, bro. Like,
yeah, they went away from it completely.
They were showing Philly play basketball.
Look,
and tweets
were great.
Oh yeah, they went back to they were showing us Steph Curry hitting 105 threes, right?
Yep.
They would rather show us that on repeat
than the game.
The game.
Yeah.
Jonathan, thoughts?
I don't even know what to say after that game. It was like I felt like the Bucks weren't missing all night, and I mean, it just felt like, all right, let the trade pieces max out their points per game or whatever today. Nunn didn't do a good job of that at all. He blew the opportunity he had, especially in the late game when we were down by like 80 points. But I mean, Hero struggled, but he was hitting some shots. It just was an ugly loss, you know.
Look, can we all agree that Hero point guard shit is done?
That's what I've been saying.
I'm not sure that ever. Well, I'm not sure that ever started, but let's see, 23 points, 7 assists, minus 32. But I mean, wow, he has the worst plus minus out of everybody.
What starter plays 2 minutes a game?
Myers Leonard, apparently. He was so shitty in those 2 minutes that they never wanted to see him for the rest of the game.
You're a minus 10 in the 2 minutes you played.
Well, I mean, with all due respect, they went on a fucking run at the beginning of the game. Like, what was it? Like, was it like a 12-0 run before we scored?
Yeah, it was like 19-4 or something like that.
And 10 of those first 12 were off turnovers, so it was really self-inflicted at that point.
It's the same thing, bro. It's kind of like, how do you expect to run a game without your primary playmaker and you don't insert another playmaker in there? Like Tyler Hero, God bless his soul, he's not a fucking point guard. He is a shooting guard. Like you need to put him in a role where his job is to score, not to facilitate, because this is the result. Everybody turned the ball over, and we end up getting blown the fuck out. Like, where was Bam? That's another question. Where was he all night?
Yeah, 12-6. You can't give us 12-6 and then 5 turnovers.
He can't give us 12-6 ever.
Yeah, true that.
Like, ever.
Well,
that's not.
I mean, Giannis only had 9 points, and they won by 50 points. So I don't mind if you did it like that. But
Giannis only had 9
points. I will say this.
Oh, go ahead.
I will say this though. Believe it or not, I'm going to take a cue from Eric Reed, and I actually have a positive thing to say about tonight.
Stop.
I do. I really liked what I saw out of KZ Okpala tonight. I kid you not. Beginning with the second quarter, his defense on Giannis, while ultimately, when we look at the final score, appears to not mean much, but he really did seem a lot more comfortable out on the floor tonight than he did against Sacramento last season before the bubble, before everybody went into the bubble. I say this because, he was poised on defense. I don't believe anyone scored on him. He didn't seem to make all that many mistakes for someone who is playing in, I think, his 5th NBA game total. Giannis, it got to the point where they started trying to use switches to get him off of him briefly. And I kid you not, I know I tweeted this a little bit earlier tonight. I think at some point, KZ Okpala is going to force Eric Spoelstra to play him a lot more. And when he continues to get a lot more reps, that's going to be even better for this team, because I think he showed a little bit of everything. Shortly before the game ended, he was able to attack the basket and very easily and comfortably hand it off to Chris Silva. I believe Chris Silva missed a shot, but he went to the line shortly thereafter. I could see them utilizing him in a variety of different ways. And as a result, that's the only thing, honestly, the only positive thing I could pull out of this. The Bucks made history shooting the ball tonight. I don't think that'll happen.
One of the things that's going to help KZ get moved up faster is if Mo Harkless continue to shit the bed every time he gets on the court.
But that's not a good thing necessarily. That's like, what if KZ's not ready and he doesn't play as well as you think he will?
Well, there's only one way to find out. In this league, sometimes you just got to throw the guy out there. Either he's made for this moment or he's not. Some players are, some players aren't. KZ was the guy that we drafted, I think, in the second round. Barely played him last year. And Mo Harkless was supposed to be one of our prized free agent acquisitions. And I'm willing to make the argument that the guy that didn't play any minutes last season is so far having a better year than the guy we signed in the offseason.
Ricky, here's the thing. Everyone keeps saying that KZ is a project and that he was a second-round pick and that we should give him a lot of time, right? When you say he's a second-round pick, you don't spend 3 second-rounders on the 31st pick in the draft, who really is a late first, if we're being honest. It's not shouldn't be considered a real second-round pick. You're spending the 31st pick on a guy, and he doesn't play all of last year because he's getting ready in the system. And then this year, a guy like Precious jumps him in the rotation. And they're, for the majority of the part, are going to play the same, more or less, the same position, right? The 4 spot or they're guarding the same guys on defense. So if Precious, a first-round pick this year, who had no training camp, had no summer league, jumps you in the rotation, isn't that a little bit of a problem?
I think they're playing 2 different roles. I think Precious is playing the backup 5 role, where he's the direct backup, and KZ slots in more of the 4 that we're looking for as kind of like the Jay Crowder replacement, somebody who can guard up and hit the damn occasional 3 and just be active out there on the defensive end. Like that's the problem. Like, Mo Harkless was supposed to be the prize free agents acquisition, but
it's nothing prized about it.
No, the more I watch Avery Bradley play, the happier I am that that's the signing that we made, because he was actually somebody who had an impact, because he was the only motherfucker who pinched Drew Holiday ass tonight. Like, nobody else did shit with Drew.
Avery looked really good. He did.
Yeah, he did, bro. He did. John, you haven't said anything. I told you I was gonna start calling you Ram Lakan, and now I'm just calling you everything. Like,
call me whatever, bro.
Yeah, bro. I'm pissed, bro. Go ahead, bro. I want you to tell us you're smart. You have a way of looking at the game that's unique to me, bro, because you always come with like perspective that I can't have because I'm too emotional as a fan.
No, bro.
It's early in the season, man.
I was thinking about it. Like, this kind of felt like the last game of the season before the coronavirus thing, where we were up 30 and then down 30, except this game we were just never up 30. And but what happened 6 months later? You know what I mean? We're in the NBA Finals, so we got to put everything in perspective. It's one game. It's one shitty game. It really sucks. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's one game. We didn't have Jimmy. We played KZ 25 minutes. We played Precious 17 minutes. And then Hero and Dunk, obviously those guys. But KZ and Precious took a lot of the minutes today, which showed that Spo wanted to try out some of these younger guys. It's still really early in the season, so we have so much to figure out. Precious was, KZ was the team best -7 as far as plus-minus difference.
No. Chris Silva.
Silva, but that was 2 minutes. So, I mean, the only guy
5 mintes. 5 minutes.
No, 2 minutes.
Oh, come on.
Silva. It's just
I'm reading 5 minutes here.
I think we should
double the time Myers played.
I think we should address Clutch's name and a comment that was made earlier about Kendrick Nunn. Nunn to China seems appropriate right now because I think he played himself out of the rotation today.
Out of the league, not out of the league.
I mean, he wasn't really in the rotation to begin with, from what I understand.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. It's like he had an opportunity tonight to put himself in a position to play, and he he was fucking terrible. Like he
Yeah,
had.
well, here's what I can say with regards to the Kendrick Nunn. I think there's no question that he's had a rough go of it since late last season. But in all honesty, even with everything that I've said about KZ, it's kind of hard to look good when you're down by 50 and nothing seems to be going right for your team right now. Now, if this sort of thing continues for the next few weeks and months, then maybe it's clear that Kendrick Nunn is not the option that we need at the backup wing or lead guard or whatever. But I think it would be unfair to just about every player to say that they didn't capitalize on their opportunity tonight of all nights. This was a historic night in NBA history, and definitely for franchise history. I don't think it'd be fair to encapsulate someone's chances based on how they perform tonight. I think let's give it some time.
I think I'm factoring in the bubble and everything leading up.
Well, that wasn't completely his fault. Remember, this man is still coming back from COVID. I'm not ready to write him off just yet.
I mean, 6 of 17, 1 of 7 from deep, or 1 of 6 from deep though. Like you got to hit a little bit more than that. Like
sure.
I know what you're saying. I completely understand. You know, he's had a rough go. He hit that rookie wall. You know what I mean? And it seems like Hero is hitting that second year slump at the beginning of the year. A little bit he cooled off of it today. It was a good offensive performance for him today as far as shooting the ball. But for Nunn, dude, you got to hit some more of those shots. You're getting the drop coverage you want where you take those mid-range jumpers, those pull-up jumpers, and you hit those consistently last year. And that's why we made you the starter last year. And that's why you got second year in rookie of the year voting. You know what I mean? So he needs to be doing the things at least bare minimum that he was doing last year. You can't be shooting for 6 for 17 and struggles for so long of a time and not have a bounce back game at least.
I think Spo will probably respond to that by saying that he appreciates the fact that Nunn is continuing to stay aggressive, because when you have players like that whose value is rooted in the points they put up on the board, you don't want this guy to just stop shooting altogether. Then he's completely useless. If he continues to attack, at some point he will round back into form. Now, I know I saw a question from Manny. At what point do I pull the plug on him? Well, I'd say give it a few more weeks. It's early in the season. This is what I think the third or fourth game. No, we just finished the third game of the season. I think it's too early to pull the plug on Kendrick Nunn. Now that said, we do have some guys that are in the rotation ahead of him, and he will have his opportunity to prove himself. But ultimately, right now, it's too early. 6 for 17. He's not the only one that had an interesting shooting night. I mean, Duncan Robinson only took 4 shots. Kelly Olynyk 1 for 5. Okpala 1 for 4. I didn't even realize that. I mean, this was just a rough night all around for everybody.
I think a lot of people want to go with the easy excuse, and that's to blame the fact that we didn't have Jimmy. But without Jimmy, are we literally like 50 points worse than the Bucks?
No.
Like that's
Giannis had 9 points.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like,
the Clippers aren't 50 points worse without Kawhi either. You know, we could roast them all we want, but again, this was just, I think this was just a lightning in a bottle. Just the stars aligned the way it was supposed to for a lot of us on December 21st, except it actually did for the Bucks tonight. They all hit their threes. They scored. They hit almost 30 threes. That's I believe an NBA record tying performance.
Yeah, no, they broke the NBA record.
I mean, there's a reason why that's an NBA record, because teams don't normally do that. You know, we'll see. Look, if they do it again tomorrow night, then we might have something. But even then, for me, the Bucks are still a show me team. It's great that they're doing this now, but call me back in May. Let's see if they do this in May, because that's when they become a pumpkin typically.
I think we all need to be very careful of the it's too early disease that we may fall into.
Remember, games in.
Yeah, I understand, but this is a shortened season, and we have a rough schedule early on. If we fall too far behind in the standings, then we'll be playing catch up all season long, and I don't think that bodes well for this team.
I hate the 3 game. It's game 3 narrative. I hate it, because when it's game 55 and we lose a game like this by 30, the goalposts are going to shift, and people are going to say, "Oh, it's not the playoffs. It's not real yet." And these habits are just going to keep coming up over and over again until the playoffs come, and this is a reality that you're hit with. And I'm just saying it. there's a reason why teams don't lose by 47, 50 points as they did for the Mavs and for the Heat tonight. There's clearly an issue with the play. One, I think it's unheard of that what the Bucks did. It seemed like every three they took went in. So I'm not concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is how the Bucks won every single quarter of this game. The Heat didn't make any push. They didn't make any run. We know that they have a good record or a decent record without Jimmy Butler. They beat the Bucks in Wisconsin last year without Jimmy Butler, so that's not even close to an excuse. So it's the first game in Miami where family and friends are allowed into the stadium. It's the first nationally televised big-time game. I'm not counting the 12 o'clock Christmas game as a big-time game. This is their first real test, and they lose by 47. That's what I'm concerned about.
And also, you can take away, like, even though this may be just one game, there's a trend beyond these games, and that's turnovers. Like, we have not taken care of the ball in any game this season. I feel like we have not taken care of the ball, and that is something that's happened 3 games consecutively, and that will come back to bite us in the ass if we don't figure it out.
Right, if we don't figure it out. Right, absolutely.
Yeah, but how long does it take us to figure out? Are we not going to figure it out against this early slate of, tough opponents? Because we could be in a big time hole by then. Myers, the cheerleader, you're a fucking clown, bro. Like, I love it, bro. Myers is a good cheerleader, though, bro. His voice is, I guess, worth $9 million. Goddamn.
2 minutes. 2 minutes he played.
$9 million.
Yeah, it makes no sense to have him there and play 2 minutes. I mean, yeah, he started off the game, didn't hit as many shots as you want him to, but you don't play him 2 minutes and you don't put him back in. You know what I mean? We're losing by 30 in the second quarter. At least throw him back in and let him get some of his value back. But I feel like, man, it was just a rough game overall. And yeah, dude. Who was the guy who was pissing me off in the fourth quarter? Jordan Nwora. He was hitting step back threes in the fourth quarter, like 3 of them. And I was just like,
you watched the game in the fourth quarter?
I mean, come on, dude. The only reason I did was for this show. I was like, man, I was gonna cut the game off at halftime, but I was like,
I'm the host and I didn't watch the game.
Clutch might ask me something about the fourth quarter, and I'm not gonna have an answer, so I'm gonna be like looking shit faced. So I had to watch it. So I was like, but man, it was just. I mean,
I watched that shit on the mosaic view of NBA.
Yeah.
I watched it on the mosaic view, and I didn't know which screen I was supposed to watch at any given moment, so I missed like half the plays, bro.
And it kept going to commercial.
In
the middle of the game.
Well, you know something. Let me just because I know maybe we might have the graphic here, but let me just list off a few teams right now. Okay, Orlando Magic, Indiana Pacers, Cleveland Cavaliers, Philadelphia 76ers, Atlanta Hawks, Brooklyn Nets, New York Knicks, and Boston Celtics. That is currently in order the teams in terms of standings right now after about 3 games played in this season. How many of us believe that out of those teams, between 99 and 100% of those teams are going to be there in the playoffs come April, assuming we still have a season then?
Ricky, how many of those teams lost by 47 points in game 3?
Right. But here's the thing. In the standings, that's 1 loss. That counts as 1 loss. If you tell me that in 3 weeks we lose again by 40 to another team, then okay, fine. Yeah, we might have a problem. But this was a freak. This was a freak loss. These things happen every once in a blue moon to any. I mean, who would have thought that this would have happened to the Clippers of all teams just a couple days ago? No one saw that coming this season. We expect that to happen to a team like the Wizards, who are 0-4 right now, despite Russell Westbrook having triple doubles like crazy. So here's the thing. The Magic are undefeated. The Pacers are 3-1. The Cavs are 3-1. These records are going to settle in. Water will find its level at some point in the season. Okay, it's not going to happen like tomorrow night. We're not going to come out of nowhere and suddenly be like gangbusters. But once we find a rhythm, because remember, this is a team that is talented and has veterans on it. I'm telling you, I think it's too early to be sounding the doomsday alarm just yet. I understand we are frustrated. This is not a fun thing to watch. Like Royal said. One of our first, I think it was you that said it. Our first major national television performance, and we get trounced 144-97. That's not fun. It's not fun. I get that, But again, Spo will tell us, don't let go of the rope, stay the course. It's too early to be talking, oh yeah, blow up the team. No, that's not how it happens. Because and I'll just say this one last thing, and then I'll lean back a little bit. In 1991, there's a certain team that lost their first 3 games of the season. That team had Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and Horace Grant on it. They went on to win the championship that season and won 61 games. Now, am I saying that the Heat are going to win 57 out of 72 games this season? No. But all I'm saying is the first month of the season, as it's always been said, even by Riley, the first 20 games, however you want to weight it, because it's a 72-game season now, that's when we're going to figure things out, and then we'll get into a groove, and then we'll have an idea of what kind of team we are heading into the playoffs, because we are going to the playoffs this season. It's going to take a lot for us to not make it. So it's a little too soon, but I think we're going to be okay. This was a bad loss or loss.
I get what you're saying, but I don't care nothing about all that. We shouldn't be losing by this much to the fucking
We shouldn't. I agree.
Real quick, though, I want to acknowledge Alex Campbell. Thanks for the donation, man. He said, calm down. Y'all being pessimistic fans. It was just one of those all-time games. You sound like Ricky.
Well.
I mean, right. 33 pointers in one night. On top of that, we had 20 turnovers, and we had a poor shooting night overall. How well did we shoot from 3? I think we shot, what was it? Let's take a look right here. We're looking at about 29% from 3, 11 to 37. So it was an anomaly on all ends of the floor. And that, I mean, what are we going to do about that? Like Ricky said, it's one loss in the win column. And at the end of the day, like Alex says, we're going to have tomorrow to get it back. You know what I mean? If we suck tomorrow, like Clutch said, if we suck tomorrow, then, okay, we have an issue. We have this gauntlet of playoff teams that we got to face. You know, we're down in the standings right now, and we have the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Knicks are ahead of us and all these other teams. But we still have time to get it right. We had a couple of bright spots tonight. I think Precious looked awesome tonight. It was really, really fun watching him play. Really fun watching KZ play on the defensive end, even though offensively he didn't really seem like he fit in right away. But as well as Avery Bradley. So we did have some parts of the game that we can take away as positives. But of course, we have things to improve on. Like Ricky said, it's a long season. We got time to work out. We can't be stressing this early in the season.
When did Kendrick get 15 points?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably the second half. I mean, he got a few in there.
How did he get up to 15?
You ever heard of the phrase "looters in a riot"?
Well, that's what tonight was. Anybody that got numbers in a bad situation like this.
Let me ask you a question, Ricky.
Yes.
Would you trade for Harden after tonight? Like,
would I trade for James Harden?
Yeah, would you trade for him right now?
No, I wouldn't.
I got a lot of loyal fans.
Well, because how about this, right? Here's the thing. It's not because I'm so in love with Tyler Hero that we can't. Here's the thing. Because I try to think rationally about this sort of thing, right? If you're Houston, does a package that Miami offers, does that seem even remotely attractive to you if you're giving up a guy who, even though it's in a loss, can drop a 45-point triple-double?
I don't think it'll be a loss in Miami. I think it'll be a win. That's the
because here's the thing.
I'm talking about Houston. If Houston would want to do that.
Yeah, would Houston even want to do that deal? I don't see it. I really don't. And not only that, James Harden, you can't count on him in big playoff games. You can't. And here's the thing. Guys like Hero, guys like the people that we would have traded for Harden, they're in Houston while we're trying to figure out what Harden's going to give us in late in the NBA playoffs. I'm
Ricky,
not a fan.
I'm so disappointed in you.
That's all right.
You're brainwashed by the Ethan propaganda.
No, Ethan. Oh no, Ethan. No, not at all. I'm not enamored with Harden's game. The numbers are incredible, and in many ways, he's figured out a loophole in the NBA's rules right now, and that's why he's benefiting so much. But the thing is, I wouldn't want him. He's had the opportunity to win with Dwight Howard, Russell Westbrook, even Chris Paul. Now, granted, Paul went down injured, but he still had the opportunity to win that Game 7 at home. Couldn't figure out that his team probably shouldn't shoot 27 consecutive threes. I don't see how that fits with what Miami's trying to do here. I really
We have a
don't.
winning coach. You got a winning coach and the players around him. Like we talked about earlier, he made Christian Wood look like Wilt Chamberlain. So if you put him and Bam together, Bam's not going to end up with 12 points and 6 rebounds. You know what I mean? Bam's going to have a much bigger impact. And when you have those two guys working together, you spread them out with shooters. You get a Ben McLemore. You get people like those calibers that can spread the floor. And then you have Jimmy. And I think those three, just like with the big three, and we had Eric Dampier and Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Eddie House and a bunch of scrubs that first year, and we still made it to the finals. I think if we add Harden to this team, we still can make it to the finals, especially with the competition in the Eastern Conference right now.
Right. Well, with what depth? What depth? We have no depth.
The first year the big three had. The first year the big three had 0 depth.
Well, the big three had LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. I mean, let's be fair now. LeBron James by himself, well, not by himself, but LeBron James can drag the 2018 Cavaliers to the NBA Finals.
James Harden can drag any team to the playoffs.
Playoffs. We're not just the playoff teams. We're trying to hit the finals. We don't need it. We're already a playoff team.
We have Jimmy.
We got
okay. All right. So I'm glad you brought up Jimmy. Right. I'm glad you brought up Jimmy. When Jimmy was in Minnesota, what was his biggest gripe with that team?
They were trash.
Not competing hard enough.
No, not just that. They were very talented, but for some reason, there was the approach to the game was lacking, and effort. Yes. Now, is James Harden known for doing that beyond shooting, jacking up threes that good? Hey, more power to him. Go in. I don't see that with him.
I do know James Harden is known for scoring 40 and 50 points in games, though, in the NBA.
So was George Gervin.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, bro. All the thing I'm saying is there is no level of talent that I wouldn't be willing to give up that would get except for Jimmy and Bam, that I wouldn't be able to give up to have Harden on this team right now because of what we saw tonight. Like, we could not dribble the ball. We couldn't stop turning over the ball. And we haven't been able to do that all season. Harden alleviates that problem almost instantaneously by being on this team.
Right, by dribbling the ball, by dribbling out the shot clock, jacking up a shot that would cause Eric Spoelstra's hair to turn gray.
Yeah, and it would also go in about 25% of the time.
Yeah, in a loss.
That's in Houston. Like in Miami,
that's the duration of his career. He'll give you amazing numbers, but when it's really important and when they call on him to deliver, he doesn't. Well, and the thing is, I'm not even trying to hate on him.
We're talking about trading for him and Tyler Hero. Like right now, we're giving Tyler Hero the ball, and what is he doing with it?
Right, but Tyler Hero are the expectations of Tyler Hero the same expectations as James Harden, a perennial all-star?
No, but that's what we need him for, is because we have expectations as a team. And that puts
as a team.
And if you add James Harden to this thing, they about where his expectations are. Get to the damn championship. Like, he needs to be in an organization where that is the mentality. Like, that's it. And I think him coming over here, like, it helps. It benefits both parties. He gets to be around players who genuinely want to win, and he gets to be in an organization where his skill set is needed and could be used properly. Like, that's just the reality of the situation, bro. If he comes over here, I would have happily taken a 40-point game from James Harden tonight.
So here's the interesting thing, right? I think, Miami is well known for reclamation projects, without question. Alonzo Mourning, Hassan Whiteside for a certain amount of time. I completely understand that. The thing is, however, when they enter this situation, James Harden, just look at what James Harden is dealing with right now in Houston. This whole training camp fiasco where he disappears, goes to Vegas and stuff like that. Now, could he be reformed? I think it was Pat Riley that said that every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. That may be the case, right? But as far as I think James Harden is probably one of the only guys where I don't see how he fits with this team. Especially considering the amount you'd have to give up just to get him. What in addition to James Harden, we'd have virtually no depth. And I'll tell you this right now, a big three of James Harden, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo is not enough to get us to the finals versus some of these Eastern Conference teams that we're going to have to be playing
every
against.
Player that we would have to give up for that James Harden thing was on the court at the same time at one point tonight. I think that was Clutch who tweeted that. Like, every player that we would have to give up was on the court, and they were getting their ass stomped.
Right, and
I do not care about what we have to give up.
I would rather. I think again, like I said before, I think it would be unfair to judge our players based on arguably their worst moment. I don't think it just doesn't, because here's the thing. We looked like a potential finals team just a few days ago against New Orleans down the stretch of that game when we pulled away and we shut it down. Tonight, right, but here's the thing. New Orleans is a team that could very well make the playoffs in a very tough Western Conference.
They're not competing for a title.
Ricky, here's my concern.
Mm-hmm.
The concern for me isn't about this one game. Us as fans, we need to sort of shift the narrative and think about it the other way. What if the Heat in the bubble caught lightning in a bottle? And
I think they did.
They caught lightning in a bottle, right? And I'm not calling it a fluke, but let's just say that things went right for them and it's not going to happen the same way it did in the bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way I'm looking at it is, okay, how did they look prior to the bubble? With the majority, I saw that comment. With the majority of the same team, right, Ricky?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how they looked before the bubble?
We were looking pretty good.
They lost to Charlotte at home the last game before the bubble.
Sure.
They were one of the worst defensive teams of the league. They weren't a good defensive team. The majority of their wins came from outscoring the other team. So we knew that they weren't going to be a good defensive team. They made the trade. They traded Justice Winslow for Jay Crowder and Iguodala. Mm-hmm. So Jay Crowder had a lot to do with their success in the bubble. Jay Crowder's not on the team anymore. His defense was huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at this team the same way I'm looking at them prior to the bubble. The defense isn't there, and I don't expect it to be there this year. You can't count on guys like Precious to bring that defensive intensity that Jay Crowder did in the bubble, which is why I'm not looking at, oh, this team is a finals team. No. I'm looking at, okay, how did this team look prior to the bubble and in the bubble? And I don't see this team as a finals team. I know it's one game, and I expected us to lose. I actually expected us to get blown out this game. I said it in the pregame show. But if we lose tomorrow, that's when the concerns start to get louder and louder. We didn't really make any improvements this summer outside of adding a rookie in Precious. We added Mo Harkless, and Avery Bradley is really the only addition that I see that could really make a difference on this team. So I look at before the bubble and how they look defensively while also not ignoring the accomplishments during the bubble.
I mean, sure. I completely understand that. I see where you're coming from completely. But at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I mean, we're 4 games in after tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And if all I'm saying is, this is basically just essentially my basic position. If it's mid-January and we're coming up against the trade deadline or the All-Star break, and we're still not sure what we are, and there are no trades on the horizon, okay, yeah, Houston, we have a problem. No pun intended.
But why are we not sure what they are? They didn't make any major upgrades or major changes to the team. How do we not know what they are?
You see, the thing is, I'll be completely, I'll be completely upfront and say this: the fact that we didn't make too many major changes this summer, or whatever this break was, it's concerning. However, I remember from the perspective of that time period, I saw a lot of Heat fans, some of whom seem to have forgotten very quickly after tonight that during this time period, we were looking ahead to summer 2021, when we would have a max contract space, and we would have Bradley Beal and Giannis Antetokounmpo and all these other people, and we just stay the course this year until we get to that point. I remember that very well. Now, all of a sudden, we lose by around 50, and it's like, oh yeah, trade everybody. We need Harden, all this other stuff. Look, here's what I'm willing to compromise on. Okay, Bradley Beal. if there was some way we could get Bradley Beal, who I imagine would command a much smaller package than James Harden,
I disagree.
I'd be fine. That's all right. You're more than welcome to do that. Then maybe, because I could see him fitting in a lot better with this team than a James Harden type. That said, if Pat Riley is going to shoot for the moon, if we end up getting him, then so be it. It's all good. Whatever. We'll see what happens.
Ramla Khan, you want Harden or you want Bill?
I mean, I would prefer Beal. I mean, I'm D-Wade all day, and all these Harden stands on Twitter, I hate them. You know what I mean? Like, I personally hate James Harden. So for me to be on the side of the James Harden trade is irking me a lot. But I think we're forgetting about one guy that we talked about. You know what I mean? That we talked about, and obviously he lost a little bit of traction with the inside people with the Heat, according to Ethan, with his attitude. But what about Oladipo? He might be a cheaper option that might not be staying in Indiana. And we went 24, 6, and 6 tonight. One of the biggest holes on this team is that we don't have a primary ball handler. We're forcing Tyler Hero to do that. And I think even though Oladipo isn't really a point guard per se, he can come in and he can fill in that role a little bit better. So I think it would be willing to look at Victor Oladipo as a cheap option, even for a rental, to try to make the finals and win the finals this year as we can.
I think the thing about Oladipo is, like, we that's one of the conversations where we wouldn't be willing to give up Tyler Hero in order to get that done. Like,
right.
That Tyler Hero is, I think Greg calls him a blue chip prospect or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you don't give him up unless you're getting a Harden and possibly Bill. I don't think you give him up for Oladipo, and it's like, can they get something better?
Right, and the Heat don't have anything right below Hero that would be good enough to warrant a guy like Oladipo, right? Because you don't give up anything much of value to a guy that's in the final year of his deal, and you already know that he's out the door. We know that Miami would be his first choice if he were to leave, and in free agency. So, and Miami has cap space, so they could easily get him this summer for free. But I do think that the Oladipo move would make a lot of sense and would fix a lot of problems. I think an Oladipo, Avery Bradley backcourt would do wonders for this defense.
Especially how Oladipo's been looking this year.
Yeah. And
he's still getting healthy too. He's still coming back from that injury.
Yeah. And this is a little bit of intel, but a little bit of just me thinking outside the box here. But I think Kyle Lowry would definitely be a name to watch going forward at the trade deadline. Just keep watching them, and if they continue to lose games and they're off to a bad start, Lowry is definitely the guy that I think would cost very little, and he would help this team tremendously as well.
That's the name
we'd have to give up to get him.
Like Jimmy Butler is like, he's on the short list of people Jimmy Butler's wanted to play with. He fits what we're trying to do, defensive minded. He definitely can organize an offense or whatever. He just fit. He's a good fit.
You know what's interesting? What's interesting about what you said, Clutch, is that this is not the first time we've heard of Kyle Lowry. If I'm not mistaken, back in 2014, before it all went to hell and LeBron left, I remember hearing talk, little chatter or whatever, of potentially teaming Kyle Lowry up with the big three as the point guard and all that other stuff. Oh, look, a taco. So I think it wouldn't shock me if that were to happen. Kyle Lowry, Kyle Lowry, that makes sense. I mean, the guy takes charges for a living. It's like he was born to do this. I could see that. I could see something like that happening. Also, he's the last one. He's the last one essentially from that championship team. And at this point, I mean, might as well. The Raptors got their title. And just about everybody's left. Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam's the other ones left. Him and the Drake look alike.
If just one thing, if Kyle were to leave in free agency the Raptors and he isn't going to get traded, I would say his list right now of free agent destinations are the 76ers, the Clippers, and the Heat. Those would be the three teams that I would watch for Kyle Lowry in a trade and in free agency this summer. I think his time with the Raptors is over after this year.
Short of him, could we trade anything better than what they'll probably offer Tybull?
But the thing is, Lowry commands so much respect from that organization that he could get traded anywhere he wants if he really wanted to, and it wouldn't cost much because of that respect of winning the Raptors' first ring.
Yeah, he earned it.
That's cool. The guy Taco About Sports just jumped in here. Taco, what did you think about the turd tonight of a game?
To be honest, man, it was on a small TV pretty quick. I told the wife, I said, hey, I got to watch the game, and I'm doing post game. And then at halftime, I said, hey, you can watch a show or two if you want. So, for the wife.
Yeah. You and I
look, a lot of turnovers. Obviously, it's hard with Jimmy not there to judge anything. But I think we're all thinking the same thing. To me, it's like I go back to the big 3 days when you had a LeBron and a Wade out and a Bosh could keep you in a game like this, or two guys could keep you in a game like this, and a Harden might help out here. But I'll leave it there, I guess, with the Harden thing.
You guys want to know something funny?
What's up, bro?
Jay Crowder has 11 of the first 14 points for the Suns tonight.
That's about the only time that he scored worth a damn this season.
Yeah.
I've been watching.
What was the stat? He had more shots than points or something like that?
Yeah,
or missed shots?
Yeah, bro. He's been terrible.
I mean, how much is he making? I mean, I suspect he would still be here if the money or if the priorities were right?
It was years, bro.
The years, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the years are what got him over there. In hindsight, if we all knew that Giannis was signing that extension, would you guys have signed Jay?
Oh,
that
I would.
you asking for?
You'd probably sign him, and you'd probably go for Ibaka just to, I don't know. That's my opinion. Of course, Adam knows a little bit better for me, but if you can get those two guys, I mean, did we have the cap for that? Yeah, because we signed Myers, which we could have waived him instead of using that dead money on him.
You wouldn't be able to trade for a guy like Harden, though.
Right.
The money had to have been perfect.
But
and we have Andy, so we know it always.
And Andy Ellisberg.
The money will always be perfect with Andy.
Yeah.
No, not in this case. No. If you sign Jay Crowder, you become you get put over the luxury tax, and the Heat have $7 million basically to play with in a trade right now. And if you were to sign Jay Crowder, that wouldn't have been the case. So the Heat wouldn't be able to trade for a guy like Harden until, I don't know, whatever February, March.
Trade
yeah.
Let me ask you something, Adam. How come we're not looking at a guy like Zach LaVine, who is instant offense?
Oh boy.
Adam's man crush Monday.
Oh my gosh. We had Chef Trilly on 2 weeks ago. Me and him, we've been dreaming of Zach LaVine for the last 3 years. 3 years. And
we could have had him for the cheap.
Stop. I can't deal with that negativity. Zach LaVine is the one guy that I think is he's such a dreamy player. Defensively, he sucks. Like he's terrible. But the difference between him and Tyler is one is built like a T-Rex. The other has long arms. So you could put a zone around Zach LaVine and not get hurt the way you would with like Tyler Hero. So
I got a question for you regarding Zach LaVine. Now this doesn't
25 points per game, Zach LaVine.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so
and I know 25 years old.
I know we were talking about looters in a riot not too long ago, right?
Oh my god.
There are those that might say that Zach LaVine currently, while playing on one of the worst teams in the league, the Chicago Bulls, might fit that description. What would your response be to that?
Next question,
Ricky.
Next question.
Oh.
Next question.
Oh.
Zach, all right, look, if you put Zach LaVine, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo together, I have no issues with Zach's defense and what he's going to do. I love the guy.
What are you giving up for him compared to Harden, though?
I'd give them Hero.
And what? I'm saying, obviously, give him Hero, but
a Hero and filler swap makes sense for one of the teams.
Interesting. Next
Which
question.
one of those?
But look, Zach is not a Pat Riley guy.
No.
So that trade would never happen. But I think it's worth talking about because I think Zach LaVine can create his own shot, unlike someone else on the Heat. And I think that's something that the Heat are really going to need when the time comes in the playoffs. The Heat were lucky this summer when they had Tyler Hero. Look, the thing about Tyler is any points that he scores, I consider them Bam Adebayo's points. Because the screens that Bam sets for Tyler are so crisp and so perfect that it would be a disaster if Tyler missed, because they're basically free points. So I don't really consider what Tyler does to be worth much to me. When Tyler does something on his own, right? He hit a nice jumper today on his own. He didn't need a screen or anything. I was like, oh, that's some improvement. But otherwise, I don't see it with him.
Well, Bam Adebayo needs somebody to get his points because he's not getting them himself.
Yeah, that's a problem with Bam too. Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, we need
look at the basket.
We need a point guard for that. I mean, big men love.
I don't think Bam is the fulcrum of our offense. I don't think he should be depending very much. If he's going to have the ball that much, I don't think he should be depending very much on or that heavily on other people to get him a shot. I think he should be able to create himself some kind of shot. His problem isn't ability. It's not. He's not being aggressive. Like that mid-range jumper, they were giving it to him. They were giving it to him. He wasn't taking it.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good.
Part of what I've been saying is this. And Bam, they said the other day actually on TV that I guess Bam had brought up the fact that he wanted to be that guy that in the fourth quarter, give it to me, I'm going to go kill him guy, step in their throat kind of guy. I have been saying for a while with the Harden stuff, this idea that Harden coming in is going to mess everything up, Jimmy would prefer to defer a little bit. Bam would prefer to defer a little bit.
We've won games where Jimmy has shot only 6 shots and Bam shoots only 7 shots. I have no concerns.
So why? That's my issue with the Harden thing of him coming in and needing the ball too much. Like the other guys, Bam wants to be that guy. Is he that guy? And does he need to be that guy if Harden's here? No.
But the fact is that Harden's not here right now. And we need Bam to be that guy. And sometimes when you need Bam to be that guy, he's not. And the problem that most fans have is that when you see games like he had in the playoffs and you see what he's capable of being, it disappoints you when the moment calls for it and he just doesn't, rise to it. Like what he did tonight without Jimmy, without anybody, he was supposed to lead this team in some respects. And I don't think he even did that tonight.
Look, I think at the end, I'm not going to say at the end of the day, but at the end, if Bam doesn't take that, I think he will because that's just the drive and the motor that he has. But if Bam doesn't take that leap this year, it's a bit of a problem. In a leap in a sense that he needs to take those open jumpers. I don't care if he makes them, but he needs to take them so that the defense doesn't sag off on him.
He needs to be more aggressive.
That's it. Just be more aggressive. Yeah. And it's not in a sense of taking a lot of shots. It's just taking the shots that you're given. That's all. That's all I ask. I want you to drive a little more, get to the free throw line, and the rest will come to you.
So Brady just tweeted out that Bam said on his offensive aggression, "My job is to get my teammates involved. I'm not the type of player that likes to take X amount of shots."
That's my point. Right. They don't mind deferring.
No one said for him to do that. We're just asking you to be aggressive in your role.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? Honestly, when I hear that mentality, it really does remind me, and I'm not trying to necessarily compare the players, but at least maybe the situations. Back when, the mid-2000s Lakers, when it was Kobe, Lamar, and then an assortment of guys. I think we were all looking for Lamar Odom to be that number 2, that Pippen, but he was more of a facilitator that occasionally would have his moments, and he got paid pretty well. It wasn't until Pau Gasol showed up that second big piece that we really started to see how great a player Lamar Odom was, because he was comfortable in the role that was tailor-made for him. Now we're paying Bam 20 and 10 money, right? And we all do expect for that to happen. I do think that eventually, and I think sooner rather than later, we're going to see a Bam Adebayo that is going to understand that, this team needs me to be more aggressive in order to succeed. I'm sure the coaching staff talks with him about this, and I'm sure they work through this behind the scenes. I think sooner rather than later we'll see a Bam Adebayo that is willing and prepared to really take over in moments like this. But right now I think it's an adjustment phase that, of course, unfortunately needs to be fast tracked because, we're 3 games into the season and alarm bells are being sounded.
Those Harden lobs are going to look good. He's going to be more aggressive.
Bam's getting traded to Houston, or?
I don't want to sound the alarms because that's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just trying to combine what I saw last year and what I'm seeing this year together.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
That's why I'm such a big proponent of this Harden trade. It's not just these last 3 games. It's because I see what other teams have done this summer, and I see what direction this Heat team could go in and the pieces that they have, right? 3 games ago or a week and a half ago, Tyler Hero's trade value was perceived at an all-time high, right? At the moment. That's when you trade a guy like Tyler.
Thank you.
And for me, because you don't, if you could tell me Tyler Hero will be a superstar to a perennial all-star kind of guy, then sure, you can keep him. You can make the case because he makes the overall team better. He's cost controlled for 7 more years. You can make the case to keep a guy like Tyler Hero. But when you have a guy like James Harden available, an MVP, a guy that takes Ryan Anderson and 37-year-old Trevor Ariza to the Western Conference Finals, you don't hesitate to make that trade. And I know you guys are saying, okay, what if we wait for Bradley Beal if he comes available? Would you rather want James Harden or Bradley Beal? How do we know Bradley Beal is going to be available? We knew
If was a fifth.
We thought Giannis was going to be available, and everybody was saying, no, let's not trade for James Harden. Let's just wait for Giannis to be a free agent this summer. How do you know? He signed the extension 2 weeks ago. We don't know what's going to happen. So you have to swing for the fences and make that trade because you don't know what's going to happen in the future.
I think most players are available at the right price.
I disagree.
Not counting those that, have signed contracts recently.
No, I gotta say I disagree. I think a guy like would LeBron ever be available to you?
No. Well, no.
Right. So
that's a unique exception. That's
not after last year. Maybe if they didn't win.
That's like the top 1% of the league.
What about Luka?
No, top 1% of the league.
What about Tatum? You think Tatum would be available?
In the right deal.
I think it might depend.
I don't think Tatum can be bad, bro.
The thing is I'm a big Tatum guy, but Luka to me is because it's international thing and because of Cuban, different story. Tatum for the right price.
Well,
but I get it. He's 26 and he's 6'10".
Like that's why Luka will be an MVP. That's why he don't trade.
Right, but
top 1% of the league. Yeah,
the top
Tatum could be top 5.
They never become available. Never.
Yeah.
They almost never become available unless they force their way out. And when they force their way out, 29 other teams better be on the phone calling because you don't get a top 10 player without doing something right. And when you get a top 10 player, you're doing something right.
I just don't see how they get. I just don't see how Miami gets Harden without a third, a fourth, or maybe even a fifth team involved.
You trade the whole team, and I'm on board with that. I'm on board with anything but Jimmy and Bam.
I mean, look at what the Lakers did. They gave up almost everybody except for one guy to get AD, and then so Miami, we're going to give up everybody. We're probably going to keep Precious, which is the one guy comparable to Kuz. Trade Duncan. Maybe trade here. You don't
right.
You
well, they
Precious or
right, but no. They also had LeBron still on that team, and LeBron has won a lot with little. So
the key difference. I think the key difference is that was in the summer, where you had time to prepare and sign guys in the offseason.
Yeah. Fair.
Now you're getting rid of half the team, and you have 2-3 days in between games to sign guys from nowhere.
And those are the Jonas Ilgauskas hanging out.
Kyle Korver, man. That's who you're looking at because he's still a free agent.
Silva,
Rondé,
Rondé. But I mean, I still like the team. Okay, if you trade, let's say you trade everything, and I think Precious would have to be the second main piece in the deal, or the third after Duncan. I think it'd have to be Tyler, Duncan, Precious. I actually think you might keep Nunn just because of how bad he's been.
So you think Duncan that ship has sailed? Like he's in it no matter what.
I think that's not what I'm saying. But I think in order to facilitate a trade now, and if Pat were to call
Right.
Houston and say, okay, let's make a trade tonight.
Duncan's in it.
Yeah.
Deal though.
But if you wait for Houston to call you back, then you can, finesse your way out of trading Duncan. But I think a trade would have to be everybody right now. If you were the ones to call and say, okay, we just lost by 50, we'll trade you whoever you want. So the team would be who? James Harden, Avery Bradley, Jimmy Butler, Mo Harkless, and Bam at the 5. Your backups would be Goran, Myers, and then
Kendrick Nunn.
You could keep Kendrick Nunn, and then you sign 2 scrubs off the street.
Jefferson and Kyle Korver.
Right. That's a championship team.
Do we keep Goran in that deal?
Yeah, absolutely. Goran's never going anywhere.
Okay. That's
so you keep Goran, and Goran does most of the scoring for the bench anyways. Right? So
right. Like that doesn't that aspect doesn't change anything.
Look, I think it makes sense. You're really only signing 2-3 guys who aren't going to even play in the playoffs anyways, because your core guys aren't even in the trade. So I think it's worth it regardless. And I think that's a championship team.
Right, like an 8-9 man rotation. Yeah.
Right. No, 7.
7.
I'm talking about like early in the playoffs. You're talking about like in the finals.
No, I'm talking about
the whole thing is 7 or 8.
7-man rotation.
7 or 8 from the start. Against
I want Myers to cheerlead the rest of the playoffs.
All right, so let's go there. If they get Harden tomorrow, where do they end up seed-wise?
Oh, I don't care what seed they're in.
I'm just curious.
3, 4.
4. I think 4 is fair.
Does it change much from where they're at now?
I think they're going to be a 4-5 seed anyways.
Right, so just about postseason.
This is all about the postseason. The thing is, James Harden ISO ball is unmatched throughout the league.
I don't know. I can't for the life of me fathom a championship team with James Harden as the best player.
Because you never saw it.
I can't. Well, we've had opportunities and
one. We've had one.
He's had a couple to get close, and
he's never had Jimmy and Bam.
Yeah, that's the difference.
And Spo.
Would Jimmy and Bam be the
best coach he's ever had?
Would Jimmy and Bam be the best players he had ever played with?
Absolutely not. He played with Kevin Durant and Russell
Westbrook.
No.
I'm talking about after OKC. Since
Jimmy Butler. Yes, Jimmy Butler is today's version of Jimmy Butler is better than the Chris Paul of Houston. Yes. So, and I think Bam is better than Chris Paul.
Why?
Then how did they win 64 games?
Because of James Harden.
Offense, right? Yeah. Thank you.
One player doesn't.
That's exactly what James Harden does.
I think they could win like a ton of regular season games and finish.
James Harden could probably win 40 games in a season with any roster that you put around him.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
like, how long does it take to adjust with James Harden coming here? Really,
James Harden gets doubled every offensive possession. Imagine him throwing it to Jimmy, who's cutting, and it's basically a 4-on-3 every time down the floor. A 4-on-3, and your 4 is Bam and Jimmy.
I mean, he didn't exactly play with scrubs in Houston. I mean,
Chris Paul.
He didn't play with Spoelstra, and he didn't have Pat Riley.
Ooh.
No. All right. He had Chris Paul. You know what? There was a tweet that I saw recently of the team that he took to the Western Conference Finals. I'm going to try to pull it up. It was like in 16, 17, I think, something like that.
Yeah, we were looking at it, yeah.
I think well, what you talking about Houston when they won 60?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was 18.
Well, the point is the guys that he took to the finals, or the Western Conference Finals, might not be in the league right now. Like 75% of the team. Yes, James Harden has never played with Andy Ellsberg. That's another thing.
Yeah,
James Harden has never played with Max Strus.
But that's the thing. Well, he's never been in the culture, and that's the whole point. Isn't that the whole point here? The culture is why James Harden
Ricky, read out the team. Read out the team.
God.
Okay.
Join my side.
Look at the team. All right, so let's see. Ryan Anderson, Trevor Ariza,
Ooh.
Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, Gerald Green,
Oh my.
Nene, Joe Johnson,
Terrence Jones, right?
Luke Mbah-a-Moute, who was pretty good for them. Chris Paul,
That was
PJ
James
Tucker.
Thank you. Wait, hold on. Alex, thank you for the $5. I'll read out your comment and then I'll make fun of you for it. So we're going to act like James Harden's playoff percentages don't fall off a cliff. Well, here's my response to that. Ricky, read out the team again.
Okay, so, well, considering the offense they were running, Ryan Anderson, Trevor Ariza, Tariq Black, Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, Gerald Green, Nene, Luke Mbah-a-Moute, Chris Paul.
So when
that
you have
team
that
won
around
65
you,
games.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker was their center last year. What? Come on, man. You asked him to do everything. You said, here, do everything.
No, what kind of pissed me off was the fact that people were acting like PJ Tucker would swing them over to this side of getting James Harden. Like PJ Tucker is the piece that
was
would make
Ethan. No. That was Ethan. Ethan was like, if you get PJ Tucker.
No, then we can convince him.
Yeah. He's like, oh boy. Now I'm on board. No.
Yeah.
So here's what's interesting.
PJ Tucker deal.
I'm looking at the box score for that game 7. Just to jog my memory. They went into halftime leading. And then they proceeded to miss I think 27 straight threes. The team that James Harden still had with him, despite Chris Paul not playing, he had PJ Tucker, James Harden, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, and Clint Capella around them. And yet they still relied on the three-pointer.
It's a good team, but the system was run by or through James Harden.
I mean, let's see. He shot 12 for 29 in the game, 2 for 13 from 3.
Which game was that?
Game 7.
Game 7 without Chris Paul, where the team is tripling him.
He missed what, 17 shots if
the Warriors,
my math is right. 13
you
11 threes.
F games without Clay and
okay.
KD.
Like you just have to guard one person and let the rest of the team shit themselves, and then you'll win.
We saw it with the Heat and Bucks last in the playoffs. We saw what happened.
To be honest, it was over.
I mean, he went to the line 8 times. This is a guy who made a living out of getting to the line in his career. He only shot 8 free throws that game.
He shot 1 million 3-pointers.
I mean, they didn't work. Usually when you miss a bunch of shots, you go to the line. Right?
In the playoffs, they let stuff go.
They had chance.
Ricky, I think at the end of the day, depth.
Oh, graphic.
No. I'm reading a comment right now. It says,
thank you.
Depth in the playoffs, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't?
It really doesn't. Because when you go deep in the playoffs, you're only playing 7 or 8 guys anyways. So stack up the talent and then try to find guys that fit the system that you're trying to run. That's what you got to do. There's a reason why the Heat went to a big 3 and not a big 2 and then a lot of depth guys. They were signing Chris Anderson and who was the other guy? Greg Oden.
McGlure.
Like
the Heat right now have more depth than the Milwaukee Bucks, and we just
made them lose by 50.
Yeah, we lost by 50.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna make that. I'm not gonna make that correlation between depth and losing by 50. I don't think
the Heat's depth didn't win a single quarter. How's that?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to use that argument to say, oh yeah, they had a ton of depth, and as a result, they lost by 50. Again, going back to what we were talking about 56 minutes ago, this was a freak night. I mean,
no, I get it. It's a freak night, but if we're going to talk about depth, we have to be fair. If we're saying that we need this depth to be able to have or make a title run, we can't ignore the fact that, okay, our bench went against Milwaukee's bench and they still lost the quarter. And Milwaukee's bench is made of scrubs that they signed this summer.
To be fair, they broke a record hitting threes.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Poetic Lifestyle for the donation. Appreciate that, bro. Says Alex Campbell, Miami is a different system from Houston if Harden comes. And that's absolutely the truth.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Drew Holiday a scrub.
No. I'm talking about the other guys. When our bench played against their bench.
Yeah, Pat Connaughton.
Right.
Ramadan, I haven't heard you talk in a long time. What do you want to say, bro?
Man, I was just thinking, like, Ricky, you're a historian of the game. How many teams, maybe outside of this Heat and then 05 Pistons, how many teams that don't have a top 5 player can win the finals? You know what I mean? So if, we do want to have depth, but we also, if we want to make a consistent run to the NBA finals, a top 5 player is going to be key to making sure that's something that we have to do,
You are absolutely right, and I have 2 responses to that. One, that top 5 player has to be a player you can count on in those playoff games. Okay, that's 1. 2, I would say the Atlanta Hawks of 2015 had a very, very, very good chance at making the finals, but it was literally one thing after the other, injury after injury after injury in that series. In many ways, that finals run for the Cavs was like a perfect storm of events that allowed them to take advantage of a lot of situations. All credit due to that team for making it that far. But going back on that 4-game sweep of the Hawks, there were some injury situations that just really didn't go their way in that series. Now, as far as the kinds of teams that didn't have a top 5 player that made it to the finals and won, well, there aren't that many. But then again, the teams that did win, they had players that you could count on in the NBA Finals and in deep playoff runs. So if we go back to, let me see. The Lakers had AD and LeBron. The year before that, who won? Toronto had Kawhi. Golden State had a bunch of cheat codes. The Spurs had, my goodness, it was just a freak show. Well, 2014. I don't think Kawhi was top 5 yet. Duncan wasn't top 5 anymore.
Who are they up against?
They were up against the Heat.
A broken Heat.
A Heat team that had Wade drop 40 in a game, I think, against the Pacers. I mean, look, they were on their way to the finals and they ran into a buzzsaw. They were tired. They were fed up, all that stuff.
And they were on their way out anyway.
But they were still a formidable team. They just ran into the worst pot. Like, for example, I don't think that series ends in 5 if, say, OKC had gotten past the Spurs in that series in 2014. Right? But they
turned the AC off, man.
Well, that was game what? Game 1, I think?
Yeah, but that's where it all went downhill, right?
No. Okay, so they won game 1, they lost game 2, and then game 3 and 4 were just buzzsaw. Like, I remember being in Delphi that night.
They were shit.
No, they lost the AC game. They won game 2, heading back to Miami with 2 games in Miami and got blown out in those games.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ricky, we're getting a little sidetracked, but okay, let's get back to.
I mean, we lost by 50. What are we going to talk about, really?
Well, here's what we can talk about. Okay, so what are your thoughts on if this happens again tomorrow? Not 50, but what if they lose by 20?
Oh, then the Bucks. I mean, well, who's playing tomorrow? Do we get our full team back?
Jimmy or no Jimmy?
No, Jimmy's not playing. No,
Jimmy's not playing.
We lost by 20 to a team. We lost by 20 to a really good team without arguably our best player. I'm not going to freak out over it, honestly.
Okay. Well, here's the one other thing. I see a lot of comments about people saying you guys are overreacting. We know. We know that they had a historic shooting night and that it's never going to happen again. But we did see things that have been a part of this trend for this Heat team that we just need to clarify and make clear to you guys, because there's something.
I'm sorry, you talking about this season?
This season and last. Before the bubble. Because I consider the bubble its own season. Its own little thing. Because we had Jay Crowder, things were going right, not every team was in it. So it's a different animal completely. And we know that this is never going to happen again. What the Bucks did, they broke an NBA record. That's not happening again. That's not happening tomorrow. At least I don't think. So we all have that. Like, I get that perspective that, okay, you guys are freaking out. This is game 3. But you have to make note of it before it becomes a common theme throughout the year. And then it's just, oh, well, it just happened again. Who cares? No, we have to say it now and get ahead of the situation and understand what the problems that the Heat have and how could they fix it. So, Ricky, tomorrow, if the Heat lose by 20, you think it's still not a big deal? It's just one of those days? They just didn't have their best player. Okay.
Well, because the thing is, right now we are flawed. Right now, we don't have a ball handling guard outside of Goran Dragic. Tyler Hero is still learning that role. Bam is still learning his new role as the max player. Jimmy Butler isn't playing. We're still integrating our new acquisitions. I mean, we only had, I think, 2 preseason games as opposed to 8 in a very shortened offseason. I'm not too worried about things as they are right now because, I mean, the Cavs are 3-1 right now. That's obviously not going to change.
Tomorrow, where are you, bro? Are you still blah? It's still early in the season. I was asking Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
He's muted.
Jonathan, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just saying, the main thing I just want to see tomorrow is not as much turnovers. You know what I mean? Like, if we can take care of the ball and we can show that we can swing the ball and create offense, not just off of one player, like if we're missing Jimmy, we don't have anywhere to go from there. If we can create offense off of Bam, dribble handoffs, and a lot of other ways, that's what I want to see tomorrow. I want us to see the ability to create offense, not with just relying on Jimmy. I want to see us take care of the ball, make the right passes, move the ball, and then on top of that, defensively, we can't allow Giannis to get in the rim. Of course, I talked about building the wall, but I felt like we built it a little too hard, and we left their shooters wide open. And we can't do that again tomorrow. It'd be nice to see Precious on Giannis or KZ on Giannis because those are 2 guys that really look like they can handle their own. And see what you can do from there. If one of those guys get overpowered, so be it. You know what I mean? Let Giannis try to work hard through those guys and go from there. But main thing tomorrow, take care of the ball. Take care of the ball. Don't get those turnovers. They scored 10 off of ten of their first 12 points on a 12-0 run at the beginning of the game for us to go down double digits within the first 3 minutes. So if we can avoid that, that's going to be key for us to get it done tomorrow.
All right, so we've been going on here for about an hour and 13 minutes or so. So I'm gonna wrap us up real quick. So we're gonna go around the horn one last time. What is it? What adjustments are you hoping to see tomorrow? What adjustments do you expect to see tomorrow versus the Bucks? And what do you expect the outcome to be? Taco, we'll go with you first, buddy.
The half a game I watched, turnovers. That's it, man.
Just limit the turnovers.
I saw they had like 8 turnovers in the first 3 minutes of the game or something like that. So you can't win like that, you know.
Okay, Ricky.
Turnovers, 3-point shooting, and overall defensive commitment.
Okay, Ramla Khan.
On top of what I said, maybe see Bam be more aggressive. There was times where I saw Brook Lopez sitting in the paint when Bam was at the top of the 3-point line. Look, if Bam doesn't want to take the 3-point shot right now, I understand. But take a step in and take that shot. We saw Precious take 2 dribbles into the paint and take a free throw line jumper. We haven't seen Bam do that almost all season. So that's what I want to see Bam do, is be a little more aggressive and take some of those jump shots. And it was nice to see Precious hit that jump shot too. If you can do that consistently, he's going to become a pretty good talent.
Hero to Houston.
Turnovers and meaningful Mo Harkless minutes.
Oh,
there's no such thing as a meaningful Mo Harkless minute. I think my thing tomorrow is I'm expecting to see a new starting lineup tomorrow. I think you see Avery Bradley inserted. They don't even start with the Myers thing. You insert Avery Bradley in there to kind of contain Drew Holiday, and you see where that goes, and then you build a rotation out from there. So that'll do it for us tonight. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thank you guys for joining the panel. Clutch Corner will return to Tuesdays whenever there's not a Heat game, but we'll have a normal pregame and postgame show tomorrow for everybody. Make sure y'all follow some of our sponsors. Manscaped, use the code 5RSN.
We don't do those sponsors on this.
Fabulous. I don't have to do that shit. I'm great. I don't have to remember that. So thank y'all for joining.
Shave your balls. That was it.
Yeah.
Your balls. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
sorry, kids.
But yeah, follow everybody on Twitter and all that kind of good stuff. Y'all have a good night.